Hello, and thank you so much for joining us. We just wrapped up our first virtual National Intern Day Summit. It was such a success, and you made it an amazing experience. Thank you so much for your help. We got to announce our policy award winners, and we introduced our Intern Opportunity Fund. As a reminder, this is a fund that you can apply for and get a gift between $100 to $500 to help you with your virtual internship or any other needs that you might have right now. So, as promised, with National Intern Day Summit, the conversation is not stopping. In fact, it's just starting. Today, I am joined by three of our biggest champions in the House and Senate. We're going to be diving deep into internships, virtual internships. What do these people who actually hire interns look for, and what can you do to get a leg up on the competition? We're going to be talking with Ananda, Chelsea, and Cameron. I'd love to invite them to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about their office, their path, and we'll get it started. Ananda, will you get us kicked off, please?
Of course. So hi everyone, my name is Ananda Bhatia. I am the legislative correspondent for Representative Seth Moulton on the House side from Massachusetts. I actually did not start with the Hill internship, but in college I interned in DC at a nonprofit called the Partnership for Public Service. And I was there for 9 months and I got to meet a lot of people in DC, and that was what ultimately helped me get an internship on the Hill through those mutual connections. I've started off as a staff assistant, worked up to LC, and have been here for about 1.5 years.
Fantastic. We love Partnerships for Public Service. They are one of our great partners. Cameron, you're giving the perspective from a committee. You're on the Committee of Energy and Natural Resources, and I know you did start as an intern. Can you tell us a little bit about your path?
Yes, ma'am. So like she said, my name's Cameron Nelson. I work for the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee as a research assistant and the intern coordinator. I did start out as an intern in college. I actually took a whole semester off from university and came up to DC and was an intern for Senator Manchin, who's my home state senator. Luckily, after college, they had another open internship position, so I actually interned for him on 2 separate stints and then rolled that into a staff assistant position with him, and then up into the Energy and Natural Resources Committee whenever he took over as ranking member. So it's been an interesting climb so far.
Yeah, and I love that you call it a climb because it really is climbing the hill. When you get there, you're walking around. Usually now we're all virtual, so the climb's kind of different. It's how do you overcome these challenges of always being a screen away from the person you're trying to connect with. Last but certainly not least, we're joined by Chelsea de Casper, who's with one of our favorite people on the Hill, Senator Tim Scott's office. Chelsea, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your role, and how you got here?
Yeah, my name is Chelsea de Casper, and I've been with Senator Tim Scott for about 5 years now. I'm his office manager / intern coordinator. I did not start off as an intern either. I was one of those rare, who you know is what matters. So that's how I got my start.
Well, fantastic. I'm so excited to get this conversation kicked off with each of you today. I know you're each bringing that unique perspective, whether it's the House, the Senate, or a committee, and you were all on the Hill before we went virtual. So you're going to be able to compare this to our students for how it used to be and what to expect now. I'd love to really dive into what does a typical congressional internship used to look like? And what are you doing now with your cohorts and your virtual internships if your office is offering them? Ananda, will you get it kicked off?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that our office has really strived to keep as many of the same opportunities that we used to have before the pandemic hit, to keep them going during the summer. So I think before we were virtual, typical intern tasks were, manning the front desk, answering the phones, doing a lot of sorting emails and managing our constituent relations, helping me with that, attending hearings and briefings and taking notes for our staffers and kind of various legislative projects and doing news clips in the morning. And I think that most of those things we've tried to keep, even though it's in its virtual form. So there's no front desk to manage anymore, but we still have our interns answering phones virtually. We have calls forwarded to their cell phones. We give them personal devices, so they have a government laptop or computer so that they can help us sort through constituent emails. They attend briefings just virtually now because everything's moved online, and take notes. And we've tried really hard to lean into the legislative projects because that's what a lot of our interns are interested in. So we still allow them to write co-sponsor requests, for example, for the congressman, or to do research about different bills or pieces of legislation that are already moving or that we're planning on introducing, helping get some of that background. All of those are things that you can do online still, and that we've tried to continue to do.
I really love that you said that, essentially you're trying to ensure that the office can keep serving your constituents at that same level, and you're working with your virtual interns to ensure that. Without calling anyone out, I know this is a world pandemic, things are difficult. Some people have just turned off their phones, some offices have, but it's really inspiring to hear that Congressman Seth Moulton and you and your entire team have gotten creative and figured out a way to still provide this internship opportunity, which goes to building that pipeline of who our future staffers are, but also keeping the core of the mission in your office and serving those constituents. I think that's really interesting. Cameron, from a committee angle, things are always different with the committee. Your constituents are the members and not necessarily the constituents here back in the district. I'd love to hear, what are some of the challenges that you've faced with moving these internships virtual? What did an old school internship look like, and how is that comparing to what they look like now?
Sure, and you touched on an important point there that we don't necessarily have the voting constituency that we need to serve, but we do have a bunch of members on the committee that we serve. So our internships are fairly different than a personal office. We don't really have any of the phone answering. We don't have casework, things like that. So we really focus heavy on legislative research. We still do press clips and some press intern, things like that to help publicize what's going on within our caucus and specifically for the ranking member. But they focus heavy on legislative issues. We start out with just them working on whatever is big in the committee and what's happening right here and now. From there, as everybody gets comfortable with the interns get comfortable with staff and what their day-to-day role is, we kind of let them expand at will. As long as it's within our committee's jurisdiction, we invite them to chase down whatever kind of issue is important to them so that whenever we do that, they have a much better experience because they're working on something that they're really committed to. The staff gets a much better work product, and generally it works out pretty well. We don't currently have interns right now. We did not do any for the summer session, but we did roll our spring people from in-person to virtual. So that was a bit of a tough leap for us because we didn't have the timing to get the computers and things out to them. So we had to work basically through their personal emails, but they still did an amazing job for us in keeping things rolling and still keeping their work product up and making sure that everybody had everything they need to get to the senators for our hearings, briefings, anything that we continue to do. But we had to take a bit of a work hiatus, essentially, whenever everybody kind of went into lockdown for the first time, because we have to have senators' butts in seats to be able to do any kind of committee work and hearings and things like that. So that kind of put a little halt in our plans, but we're trying to flesh out what we can do in the fall, virtually or in person.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And of course, College to Congress is here to help. One of the focuses on our end have been, up until this point, of course, creating and rolling out C2C University, our newest online platform. But now we've partnered with the Congressional Management Foundation to ensure that we're helping committees and personal offices all create these virtual internships, because we're training an entire cohort of hundreds of students. So now we need to make sure that we're helping our partners on the Hill create those opportunities. I couldn't help but giggle, Cameron, when you said butts and seats, because whenever I think about an office that has weathered this storm and really, shown up for work every day, I think of Senator Tim Scott. Chelsea, I know your office has been so active through all this. You haven't stopped writing bills. You haven't stopped coming to work. Of course, you're doing it in a safe way. But I know your boss and your office have really stepped up to this challenge. I'd love to hear how interns have been a part of that.
Yeah, we've been back since after Memorial Day, so that's been interesting. but it's been good to get back and answering phones and just back to the normal grind. Unfortunately, we had to cancel our summer internships, which was a very hard decision for the senator. As you know, we have typically about 40 interns in the summer. So having none, staff was going crazy. And but we're trying to figure out what we're going to do in the fall and hopefully get at least a couple interns into each of our offices and figure that out. But like Ananda said, interns typically, answer phones and help out staff with research. We like to match our interns up with the policy issue that they're interested in and work with staff on that. And they're really figuring out what they want to do with the next steps in their lives.
I love that you guys do this. I mean, this is why College of Congress loves putting an intern in your office, because you really are thinking about that young person in the career development, which at the end of the day is what this opportunity is for. In thinking of our students and how they could best prepare themselves, you all hire interns. I'd love to hear, what makes someone stand out? Is it activity? Is it something on their resume? Are you even looking at their LinkedIns? Could you talk to us a little bit about that decision-making process and help our students really put their best foot forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I do look at LinkedIn and social media once I've narrowed down the list. So I've seen some interesting things before. Make sure you've cleaned up your social media a little bit, make sure it's appropriate before you apply for an internship. I think the things that I look for are sometimes surprising to people. One of my favorite experiences that I love seeing on a resume is actually customer service experience. So that's restaurant work, or I worked at Walgreens in high school. I love seeing that kind of experience because you're working with constituents a lot and being able to talk to them on the phone and meet with them in person, give them Capitol tours when we're in person. But even now, just having that kind of sense of working with the general public is really important and something that we value a lot. I also really look for just kind of a dedication to public service in general. We're a very mission-focused office, so someone who shares our mission, vision, and values is really important. And just a general positive attitude. I think it's pretty easy to tell, especially in the interview stage, whether someone is really eager to learn. I care much more about that you're eager to learn and able to approach any task that we give you with a smile on your face than whether you've done everything in the past before. So someone who's willing to come on from day one and just do whatever we throw at them is really useful.
So it sounds like being moldable is more appreciated than being class president and checking every single box. Am I understanding that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's great to see leadership experience, et cetera, but I think I have a lot of people who are afraid to apply or who reach out and say, I shouldn't apply yet, I don't have enough experience. And we actually take a lot of young people. I really value taking sometimes even interns who are going into their freshman year of college. Sometimes they are more willing to learn and still feel like they have a lot to gain from an experience and just have a better attitude about the work than some of the older interns we've had. So it's just a mix.
Yeah, admittedly, those are all qualities I look for in hiring our own interns and staff as well. So I couldn't agree more. I think that 2020 has taught us all that being able to embrace the pivot, being able to get creative and still show up to work with a smile on your face really goes a long way right now. It's been helpful for us all. Cameron, Chelsea, would you like to add to that? And maybe I love how Ananda was saying, something really unique she wants is that customer service experience. Are there any things unique that you look for?
Yeah, I gotta really echo Ananda on that one. That's one of my senator's cornerstones is that customer service. He grew up working in a family business that he took over for a while, so that is a cornerstone of how he wants to interact with people. Again, too, on the social media, we've had to cut a couple of people, unfortunately, because of some of the stuff that they've posted who are otherwise very strong candidates. So you got to be really aware of what's out there, and you're not going to hide. Even if it's a hidden account, there's ways to get out there and see it. So you just got to be careful with whatever you're posting. One of the things that I generally look for, like Ananda said as well, is that leadership experience. One of the great things that I try to do too is you can't necessarily change the things you've done over the last 5 or so years as far as leadership experience and all that, but you can today write a kick butt cover letter. You can do your homework and make sure that you know what that representative you're applying for cares about, what he's interested in, what he's done recently. And if you can reference those kind of things, you're going to get to the top of the list pretty easily. And then one other thing that I can definitely recommend is to flex any kind of connections that you have to that particular office or the state or district that they represent, because that's going to get you a lot higher up on the list too.
And just going off of them, customer service we definitely look for, but also our office is very teamwork. Everybody works together. Nobody's higher. I mean, the senator you've seen all answering phones. So nobody's above a position. And when you're interning in our office, that's what we really look for as a next staff assistant or staffer, is that you were that intern who went above and beyond and did the little things that nobody even asked you to do. Anything the other interns didn't want to do, that really sticks out as staffers, and that's who we're going to look to hire for the next one, is that you're just part of the team and want to be a part of the team.
Teamwork makes the dream work. It's cliche, but it's so true. And politics is a people sport. So you have to be able to work together as a team. Chelsea, I'm just going to turn it around and go back to you. So you could answer this one first. As you guys all know, because you work so closely with College to Congress, a big reason why I started this nonprofit was because I had to go into debt to afford my unpaid internship. Thank God I had the Pell Grant paying my school and the ability to do that, but so many students obviously can't make that choice. One of the silver linings, I think, to this coronavirus is that these students are now being able to take part in virtual internships, right? They can sit at home. They're not having that added expense of coming to Washington, D.C., of having to buy the technology, the outfits, just D.C. rent alone. We all know how tough this can be. We talked at the top of the hour about Capitol Hill starting to create some virtual opportunities. I'm curious to hear from you. What are some non-traditional opportunities that could also lead to the Hill? Maybe it's like Ananda with partnerships or public service. Maybe it's campaigns. Could you maybe share a little bit about, if you can't land a Hill internship right now virtually, what else could our students look for?
I think maybe reaching out to the offices as well and doing a state internship, meeting with the state people. I always recommend, if you can't make it up to DC, reach out to our state offices. We love having interns there, and that's a good first step. Or just meeting with the state offices and connecting and doing the networking through them and meeting other people through the state office.
Cameron, you want to chime in?
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. One other thing, if you can't do a state office, can't do the Hill, just volunteer work, do something that you're passionate about, because that's going to carry you a lot further than just doing something that you think might look good on the resume. It's going to make for a lot better talking points. You're going to be a lot better off, I think, if you just do something that you really care about, and it's going to show whenever you're able to bring that up in later interviews.
I worked on campaigns throughout college, and that was my first job after I graduated, and definitely think that campaigns are a great way to get into Hill positions too. You make a lot of connections, but it's also another one of those experiences where if I see you've done field work on a campaign, interned, done phone banking, that kind of thing, that touches on both that customer service experience. And it also, I always value that people who work on campaigns are usually very hardworking, very dedicated, really put their nose to the ground, and are able to kind of power through difficult, stressful moments. So those are great experiences to have too.
I agree with everything you guys said. I think, getting that state level experience, understanding all the different powers at play, making sure that whatever you do is something that you're truly passionate about and truly connected to. That's what makes life worth living. And as a campaign veteran myself, I couldn't agree more. I think campaigns are fantastic. And it gives you that unique ability to really understand all the different hats your member is wearing. They're not just the senator, they're also the candidate. they're always having to run for re-election and serve a bunch of different needs. And so, you know, a campaign really gives you that experience. As we are wrapping up, I would love to just give a little free for all and ask you guys, you know, if you had just graduated in May 2020 in this world pandemic and you're sitting at home and you know you have a passion for public service and you're trying to navigate, how do you, you know, find that first opportunity? Obviously at College to Congress, we're working hard to provide these for students, but I'm curious, you know, what's just one tip or one piece of advice you would love to have left yourself if you were in those shoes? Chelsea, would you like to go first?
Sure. It's very hard to get on Capitol Hill. I know interns who, you know, have interned in our office and want to come back and keep reaching out and keep networking. And, you know, it can take a year to get back onto Capitol Hill, but just keep trying. When you graduate, it may be hard to find a job. And what I tell all of my interns is find another internship. People will hire you when you're on Capitol Hill instead of back at home applying from there. So it does not look bad if you do another internship, just do another one. And then when you're here, do the networking as much as you can and start applying to those offices.
Cameron, what would you have told yourself this year?
I mean, it kind of goes back to one of my mentors, really said, create your own luck. Everybody would always tell me when I'd sit down for coffees doing the networking stuff, oh, you just got to get lucky. That's how I got here. And I was always like, okay, but what did you do to get here? And it's just creating your own luck, doing your homework, making sure that you're overly prepared for every situation that you get into. Even if it comes down to just cold calling offices and just inquiring, saying, who can I talk to about internships now and into the future? Just lay yourself out there, do everything that you can, and make sure that you come correct into these situations.
Yeah, I would say one of the nice advantages of us all being remote is that you can do a lot of that networking much easier from home that you could not do before. That was the main piece of advice I always got when I was wanting to move back to DC was, you've got to be in DC, you know, you've got to be there, like get an internship, do something, and then start networking there, and people will be more likely to take you seriously. And that's just not the world we live in right now, which can be great if you're don't have the resources to pick up and move to DC. So I would say do as many virtual networking opportunities as you can. Your alumni networks are great resources. Absolutely reach out and see if they can tell you like who from my school is in DC now. Just get coffee, send an email, say, you know, I'm from your school. I'd love to chat virtually for a little bit and hear about your experiences. That's how I ended up in my position now. You can reach out to staff assistants and LCs or just cold call offices like they said. And there's a lot of different opportunities now for virtual networking events that I'm starting to see cropping up that are easier to just pop into even if you're not in DC now. So hillhappenings.com is a great resource. They're starting to put more events on there. You can check that out, and most of those are free and open to whoever sees them. So doing that work is great.
Well, I loved getting to chat with you all. You are clearly experts in how to have a career in public service, how to be passionate about showing up for your work every day. And admittedly, one of the things I admire most about each one of you is that you want to give back, you want to help others. And that's something that I love about Capitol Hill. I think there's the view of Capitol Hill from the news, and then when you get there and you meet everyone, you realize it's truly a community. So thank you so much, Ananda, Cameron, Chelsea. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with our students. If you feel inspired by what they're saying, if you want to get up and take 2020 and really make this your year, go to c2cuniversity.org. Sign up for free. We will help you get these virtual internships, whether they're on Capitol Hill, campaigns, or even at that state level. I loved that tip. So please make sure to go to c2cuniversity.org and sign up, and we'll be there to help you. Thank you.